For those of you listening, we're about to start the show. Please invite your friends, share the video, because we're about to start. I see there is people watching already, so share the video. We are coming live soon in a minute.
My name is Glory, and welcome to Rankadvertiser. Advertising made simple.
Rankadvertiser, advertising made simple.
Hello and welcome to Rankadvertiser podcast. I am so very happy to have you all here with us. I'm so excited that you have taken the time to really join us in this podcast. Today we'll be talking about peace, and I have a very special guest for us. Her name is Beth. For those of you who have been in the show for a while, you know our guest. So for those of you who are new, I'm going to introduce Beth in a little bit. Beth, she's a 20 years veteran of marketing and advertising whose specialty was helping small business significantly increase their net value. She is also a retired realtor as of 2011, which she loved doing while partnering with her mother. As an independent entrepreneur for the last 13 years, Beth has dedicated her life to helping others succeed by building global network of consumer online. She currently leads a team of over 20,000 people in 9 countries. She is very passionate about teaching anyone willing to get the work how to master a new way of earning an income that leverages a little bit of work from a network of people in order to make their dream come true. That is why her company is called Team Dream Extreme. She's also a passionate advocate for preventive healthcare strategy, a national spokeswoman for Women Heart, the only national advocacy organization for women with heart disease, an active Rotarian and past president of her Rotary Club, an ambassador for the National Cancer Coalition, and an athlete dedicated to tennis and her peloton bike. She believes everything in her life has led her to this place, and she's on a mission to support as many people as possible to have the type of success she enjoys. She's been happily married for 36 years to her childhood sweetheart, Dave. She has 2 wonderful grown children, Erica and Kyle. So without further ado, I bring Beth to the show. Beth, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Glory. What an awesome introduction. I sure appreciate a chance to partner with you and share our message today of peace. And what an ideal day to be talking about peace and what that could mean for each and every one of us on Mother's Day of all days, for us to be able to come together and also just recognize all of those moms out there in our lives, and the influences that they have had on each and every one of us. And those that haven't yet had a chance to become moms, that they'd really enjoy being able to do that at some point in their life, and just being able to contribute to the lives of those, family members and the people that mean so very much to them. So thank you so much for joining us, especially on such a great day, and look forward to our topic today.
Thank you. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers who are watching us today or who are listening to the podcast today. And we really send our love across the world. So, Beth, today we're talking about peace. So, how would you like to introduce this wonderful topic of peace?
Well, I'll tell you, there are so many things that have transpired over the course of the last 18 months in all of our lives, all over the world. And it just seems like a really important topic for us to dive into, because there are so many different ways to evaluate what peace looks like for each of us. And the thing that continues to occur to me as I think hard about this and have this topic in my mind and in my meditations and, just in every aspect of my daily life, the importance of approaching each and every individual in our lives with a peaceful mindset, and one that is really about minimizing conflict by allowing those things that might be between us no longer be between us as human beings. So, lots of different ways that we can approach the conversation of peace. And for me, what it really means is everyone having an opportunity to share exactly what they think about their philosophy and their way of looking at the world, and really working hard towards acceptance, understanding, and compassion.
Compassion. Great. And for what have you learned in terms of having a peaceful environment or a peaceful society? Um, what would you say? Because I think you've lived in this planet for a while, so you've bet experienced a lot of dynamics. And what are some of the takeaways between having an environment that's very peaceful and having an environment that's very turbulent? Um, yes.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, a lot of what I've learned and what I've observed because of the places in the world that I've traveled to. And when you appreciate and understand and embrace all kinds of different cultures all over the world, and just really choose to see each individual for who they are and what it is that they have to offer and contribute, and just to have admiration and appreciation for who they are as humans, regardless of the color of their skin or the language that they happen to speak. The thing that I'm very committed to is just making sure that, to the best of my ability, that when we approach one another, we're approaching one another with kindness and with appreciation in our hearts. So it's a combination of several factors, actually, Glory, that have really enabled me to experience not only what conflict and ongoing conflict within a family can look like, but also the benefits of what peace can mean. And so often, what peace really comes down to, in terms of my perspective of that, is forgiveness, because it's very difficult to have conflict in the relationships that are the most valuable in our lives, as long as anger and frustration and those kinds of very volatile emotions exist. And yet we're all human, and we definitely have those times in our lives when it feels pretty good to have a conflict going on, I guess. But the thing that I'm hoping for and continue to pray for in our culture, in our country in particular right now, is coming to a place where we genuinely accept and admire and respect all humans, regardless of the color of their skin or of their culture. I mean, we're all human beings. If we are, cut, we all bleed red. We share all of those things in common. So for me, it's always been about seeing human beings and the value of what they bring, and working through our disagreements, mostly with the compassion and just willingness to be understanding and see through the conflict to how can we really come to a mutual beneficial understanding.
Great. And what are for someone who's seeking to bring peace in their own family? What are some of the advice you would give them on the show? I mean, someone might be watching and they're like, "Man, I need peace in my own family." So, do you have any tip on how to bring that up or how to create that peace within the family?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, it's going to be a lifelong journey for all of us, I'm sure, right? So even at 56, there are times when, based on some disagreements that have happened in my own family, as an example, the best way that I have found to bring peace to my soul, is to really go to gratitude and acceptance. And that's not always easy to do. It's, sometimes our biggest struggle. And yet, when we surrender and we just simply accept that the person that we might have a conflict with, even if they're people that are really close to us, it's not that we're so very different. It's just that we may be seeing things from a different perspective. I'll give you a specific example. I think sometimes in these conversations, specificity can help.
Yes.
I mean, I look at, the fact that my biological father, whom I absolutely adore, he is absolutely an avid Republican. And my viewpoint happens to be different than that. And so we recognize that when we have a conversation, he's going to have a very specific viewpoint on some things going on in our country right now that I'm not going to share his particular perspective. And I think, unfortunately, over the course of the last couple of years in particular, lots of families have experienced division and experienced anger and frustration with one another because they see the political perspective very differently, perhaps. And so, what my dad and I have just made an agreement to do is that, if we do talk about politics, which is very rare, when we do kind of dive into that topic a bit, we're both just really clear that I appreciate his perspective. He gets to have his opinion, and he really appreciates and respects the fact that I also have mine. And we're still able to love one another through that. And so it's been a real exercise for both of us to want to continue to have conversations, even though we see things very differently in terms of the state of things right now. But again, not making him wrong and me not owning needing to be right about my particular point of view, but working on compromise and allowing just space and grace for differing points of view. Because really, at the end of the day, anything, in my opinion, that is political in nature, it really is just a series of opinions. There are, few facts, right?
Mm-hmm.
But really, at the end of the day, it does kind of come down to I have a specific opinion, he has a specific opinion, and I love him despite the differences of those.
Definitely. And for those of you who are watching us, if you have any question, feel free to drop it in the comment and it's going to pop up in the screen. So we'll be able to answer your questions as we go. So that's the new piece that we integrated in the podcast. And for those of you listening and you want to be part of it, make sure to join us live once we're recording so you'll be able to also ask your questions. And without further ado, my next question is, how do we bring more peace in America?
Wow, that's a big one. I'm glad I'm sitting down, Glory.
Yes, I had to ask that one.
I am so glad you did. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah, when I think about, just who you and I are, right? So I'm a white woman that I think I could probably qualify as a white woman of some type of privilege. And you're an African American man. And yet we come together appreciating and having so much in common in terms of our commitment to helping people regardless, right? So when I think about the answer to that really important question, how do we bring more peace amongst us? I know I have a lot to learn about how I address my racism, my reality around that without intending to ever offend anyone. That would be my last thing I'd ever want to do. And yet I need to be open and be better about listening and learning and asking good questions of the many people in my life that are people of color, because there's a lot of conflict and emotions are very high, and they continue to be understandably very high in our country because there have been a lot of things that have not been addressed. Then they're long overdue and they have come to the surface and they cannot be ignored. So when it comes to what I foresee in the future about how all of us can bring more peace, it really has to do with just a willingness to understand and be heard and be seen for who we are, as opposed to not paying attention and not having our eyes wide open, and as well our hearts. They have to remain wide open too. So what do you think about that answer? Because I'd love to put it back on you and just say, all right, what do you think it's going to take, man? Because I'd love to hear your take on it.
Yes, well, once I look at it, I think it's going to take a lot of compassion, and also a lot of willingness to make it happen, because peace is a choice. I think everyday people, this is one of the thing that the Creator has given to all of us, the ability to choose. And people can choose peace. People can choose and demonstrate that with their attitude, with their with who they are, the way they act. I think I love this quote that say, don't judge a man on the way he looks, but the content of their character. I think we can show and bring more peace in the country by being our true self, as well as by being compassionate, loving, and really meaning that. And people get to feel that this is real for us. And I think it's something that can be done across states, across county, across. It's a communal effort. And I believe that if people choose to do that, it's gonna happen. And it's just a choice. It's a choice to be peaceful. And I believe that it's gonna happen, and it's already happening in many places. And we just still need to push for peace across the nation. And my next question is, what is your ideal? How do we know that we have achieved peace? I think that is the real question, because for some people they might be like, oh, we're already in a peaceful society. What are you talking about? And somebody who's watching this what are you talking about? Oh, someone might be watching this and be like, yo, there's no peace at all across the country, because we still keep seeing cops doing things that's shocking the community. So people can argue both sides. So my question is, when do we know that we get the peace? how do we know we get it? Like, when will you know that there is peace in America? Where you see, you're like, yeah, there is peace. When is that moment for you? How would you describe it?
I have to tell you honestly, another really big question, right? What is the measurement of peace, right? What is the marker, the ability to quantify peace? And I think it's going to be a lot of different things to a lot of different people, to be honest with you. Personally, coming from broadcast advertising for 20 plus years in radio and television, the media, as much as I loved being in media, especially 24-hour news, it was a blast. We had so much fun. And yet there is a responsibility that the media has that somehow they've maybe lost a little bit of reality to. That every time they show, somebody doing something horrible, it's as though it's feeding that fuel. It's as though it is continuing down a path of, hatred and anger and fear. And so for me, part of it will be that we will begin having as much joy and satisfaction in our news broadcasts, celebrating those things that bring joy and peace. That when we have really great news days, we have really great news days because we are highlighting all of the tremendous things that people are doing to contribute to others' lives. That'll be a big marker for me personally, is to be able to know that we can turn on the news and have it be good news about people being very philanthropic in nature and contributing and giving back and all of those things that really define, as you said, our character. The other thing I think that will be a really interesting marker is to have more and more people of color and women in positions of authority, and be able to have more of a balance of diversity on all kinds of levels, regardless of what the corporation might be, regardless of, any of the different categories that it might be in, that human beings are really the standard, right? It's not this person instead of this person based on where they graduated from college or what color their skin is or whether or not they happen to wear a dress more often than they wear pants. That when we evaluate people based on their performance and people based on what they're going to contribute and who they are as people, that's when I think we're going to have some real shifts. Because when people of color and people who are qualified to do those roles, and it's all equal, right? We're all evaluated as the human beings that we are, then the kind of different influences and diversity that can occur across the board has a much better chance of doing that. And thirdly, I think I don't even know where to place them in terms of hierarchy. It might be the very most important thing of the three, actually, but it is to have some very significant police reform. Yeah. And it's not to suggest that I feel like having defunding needs to occur. It doesn't have anything to do with funding or defunding. It has to do with philosophy. It has to do with what's being taught. It has to do with what is okay and what is allowed in terms of utilizing force on any scale. And I think when those three things can actually occur on a sustaining level, that we're all just going to be able to take a much deeper breath and recognize that, we all share this planet together. And it's really important that we come together in ways that allow and inspire and enlighten and educate all people to be thinking that way, that, we're all here for a reason. We're all here for our greatness. Yes. And being able to be the very best people that we can be. And it's so much better to do it together as opposed to doing it on opposite sides of an issue.
Exactly. And that is what a family does, Issue will always rise up and things will rise up. But it's the ability to come together with the willingness to solve the problem, to sit and hear both sides and come with a solution that works for society. I think that's one of the things that we're working toward, and I'm glad that people are talking about it in the media. People are expressing themselves. People are bringing different perspective into it, and I think starting with the conversation and suggestion, I think, is the way that any family solves any issues. And also, I think there need to be a lot of learning in the process, because there is countries that does it best than us, and I think we can learn from them as well. I think that's also something that we can do moving forward. I think it's all about learning. I think it's an awareness. It's an awareness. It's an awareness thing. As long as the more we become aware, the more we can drive our actions toward a purpose that's serving the whole community in a way that's satisfying for a lot of people. And I think the work of government it's a work of purpose. It's a work of people. It's a work of it's a work where you go there to serve others. And I think if all of us and everyone who serves the nation and who serves the country put that dream at the heart of their action, I think things will be totally different. And I dream of a place in America where no shooting goes around for an entire 10 years. I dream of that America. I think it's possible. I think we can do it. It's just the willingness to work with one another and really drive peace across our education system, across our country, and so that we look at those moments in history as a moment where we go, wow, we really made a difference. I think that's what I would say in terms of that. And is there anything you'd like to add?
One of the, yes, thank you. I agree with all of what you just said so beautifully. I do think that gun control has got to be part of the solution. I think to be able to get access to firearms in our country that are just, they're purchased with the intent of destruction, and that we've got to find a way to make that not as possible for people who are motivated by that. And so, yeah, I do think that there's some very good examples, like you were saying, right, of countries that really do appreciate and value every single life. And I think, unfortunately, we've maybe gotten a little far away from valuing every life, and because every single life has tremendous value. My husband and I were fortunate. We got to spend a couple of months living in New Zealand because he was teaching at the University of Canterbury. And that, I have to tell you, really is a country that in many ways has its priorities in place. And they really truly do value every single human life. And we got a chance to witness that. And I think, unfortunately, there are mothers, speaking of Mother's Day,
Yes.
in this country who are concerned about the safety of their children. And when you get to a place where you're concerned about your children leaving your home to go for a run or to walk to the grocery store or to do things that you would consider to be very normal behaviors and be concerned about their safety, that's something that really needs to shift in our country. There should not be mothers in the United States of America who are concerned for the safety of their children. It just shouldn't be that way. So the more that we can curtail the violence that unfortunate weapons bring into that picture, it will continue to reduce that, kind of the upheaval of the emotions that, are running high in our country right now and continue to. So, yeah, I think compassion is a really, really big part of that entire equation. Like you said, Glory, it's understanding one another and taking the time to listen, for sure.
Yes, and I'm glad that it's Mother's Day, and let's bring the mothers into the picture of our topic today. So,
Yeah.
I can mother help society bring more peace. I think that should be like the question of the podcast, because we all have mothers, and how can they enable society, enable all of us to really create more peace? Because I still remember as a kid, my mom would look after all of us. I mean, she really loved once there is peace, and then once, I mean, like once we're working together as one unit. And I think moms have that inherent ability to really love every children and make them work together. So, what would you say to really, what can mothers do to really enable society to create more peace?
Well, that's a great question. And I agree with you. You know what? I have to be honest. I wasn't sure that, the mother instinct would be necessarily embedded, right? But it is. It is that whole nurturing thing, right? I mean, once you've had children, I love this quote because it just happens to be really true for me. As soon as you have a child, you are giving permission for your heart to walk out freely, outside of your body for the rest of your life. So you're just in a position where if you accept that role and nurture that role, and not all moms do, but most do, and if you've had a mother that wasn't necessarily the case for you, my heart really goes out to you. But for most moms, it's that nurturing capability, and that's where I think women who are mothers in leadership positions can really make a phenomenal contribution. I'm a Rotarian, and I love Rotary. It is one of the world's largest service organizations, and I've been a Rotarian and active in it for over 20 years. And we actually put a series of peace poles in our community that are all connected on a walkable path. And the International Day of Peace is September 21st. And so the ability to actually celebrate peace and coming together and nurturing that reality in peaceful ways. There's lots of different things that we can do within our individual communities that really does bring community together. And I think that that's part of why emotions are so high right now around this particular issue, is because our communities have been so disjointed regarding, as a result of COVID. We've not been able to come together in large groups and celebrate one another and hug each other. I mean, I know you're a hugger like I am, Glory, and I'm just telling you, I am so hug deprived right now. It's crazy, right? I mean, we're all so wanting to have community as a massive part of what we've all been missing so badly for so many months. And I think that mothers and women in general, they really do value community, and they really do appreciate their families and what being a part of a community, whether it's your family or an extended family or people that behave like their family, even though you're not connected to one another that way, being able to drive that message forward of it really is important that we each structure our lives in a way that we bring calm and we bring peace and we bring understanding into every conversation that we're responsible for. So I really do feel like having more moms perhaps in roles of leadership, whether it's, being a larger leader in their faith community, or being a or more present leader perhaps in their own families or in the workplace, kind of wherever they are in their life, just making a really solid stand for creating peace and calm around them. It's like that rock in the middle of a lake, and it's that ripple that creates the ramifications and the effect of being able to transform lots of lives that way. So great question.
That was a very beautiful answer. Yes, and and for someone watching us right now and we're talking about peace in Mother's Day, and we've touched all the different dimensions, society and family. And someone might be watching and they're alone, they're by themselves, they're single, and they're by themselves. They're trying to bring peace to themselves. There is always this moment where someone is going through a moment where they're trying to seek peace with themselves due to the past decision they've taken or something like that. How can someone like that find peace with themselves?
Yeah, another
In your
really great
experience.
question, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I've discovered over the course of my life is that if I remain angry at someone who has done something that I believe is very unkind, or done deliberately to cause me emotional harm, the reality is that if I remain either disappointed or frustrated or angry or wish it were different or any of those kinds of things that I have no control over, right? Because I'm not going to change that other person. I am only responsible for me. And so ultimately, I'm the only one that suffers. And so I think part of the response to your really great question is ensuring that if you're wanting to create peace in yourself, understanding that it's really what you tell yourself, right? What
Mm-hmm.
goes on between our two ears is really what it comes down to. And when we tell ourselves that there's something wrong with us or we're not good enough, or often that's what happens if we're creating a story that is making us unhappy or is making us less than peaceful. And so be very cautious about the things you tell yourself about yourself. Because people who are peaceful within their soul, they are clear that they like who they are, that they want to spend time with just them, right? I mean, some of my, and this is going to sound weird, but some of my most fun days are days when I'm by myself, right? Like when I get to spend time thinking about what are some of the next ways that I can contribute? What are some of the next steps that I can take to move forward? Because I think that's the other thing that can cause people to not have peace is spending too much time in the past. Because the past is gone. The past is not happening right now. The past just is something that occasionally we can lug along with us into our futures, right? And so my encouragement is to let the big bag of things that you're bringing with you, perhaps, that are things that have happened in the past, and leave them there, because that's really where they belong. The ability to learn from the things that have happened in the past and incorporate the lessons that they've taught you, absolutely bring those things, right? Bring those lessons, bring those things that are positive into your future. But those things that are in the past, consider leaving them there in order to find more peace.
Yes. Yes. What I would add to it is it's really a self work. I mean, you really need to look within and forgive yourself from any decision you've made in the past that is making you feel that turbulence within yourself as you go through the world and as you encounter people. And it's really a work within. The reason why I say that, because sometimes you go out, you meet someone for no reason, they just met. It's either you or the server or something at the restaurant, they're having a difficult day. I think looking within and forgiving ourselves and and moving forward from that is very important. Forgiveness, self forgiveness. I think a lot of people need to really work on forgiving themselves in order to really move forward, because I always, once they play that story in their mind, it's becoming difficult for them to look at the present and see the opportunity when they're thinking about the past. And that's going to drive me to the next question, which is I'm going to also add to it, but I'm going to ask it first in terms of relationship and how do you bring more peace into a relationship. Because the reason why I'm asking this question, because I was talking to somebody who said something that really enabled me to ask this question. And then the thing they were worried about was, they had a bad experience in the past, and they're afraid that's the new relationship they're about to enter. They're kind of fearing, they're playing that story of the past into this new opportunity. So I was like, man, this is a great thing that's happening all around us, and people who are single are experiencing it. I mean, and I was like, man, this is a great question to ask. What would you say, Beth, in terms of people who are experiencing it?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it's happening a lot in, all around us, as you said, right now, where people are, they're afraid of getting into a committed relationship because they've had a bad experience in the past, no doubt. I think what I would say about that is that it's the learning, right? It's the discovery of what wasn't workable for you in a previous relationship, and the incorporation of that learning and the knowledge that you gained as a result of it, and still being willing to keep your heart open. That was one of the things my dad has said to me recently. He's like, Beth, he's like, you have such a huge heart. And it's hard sometimes when you continue to give your heart, make your heart available for other people, because sometimes your heart gets really hurt. And the reality is that when you incorporate the learning that you gained in those situations that you were hurt into how you're going to make different choices in the future, that's that protective shield that we can have a little bit around us, but at the same time recognize that what are the choices, right? If you want to choose to not be in a relationship and be alone, there's really nothing wrong with that either, if that's your choice. Some people choose to have a partner. Some people choose to be in an intimate relationship, and they come with risks. There's no doubt about it, man. They definitely do. I'm telling you, 36 years of marriage, they all come with risks, right? They all come with their own series of ups and downs. It's just the truth of that. And the reality is that I choose to be in a loving relationship with my husband. And are there days that he makes me so crazy? I'm just like, okay, see ya, right? And that hasn't happened in a really long time, but especially with the craziness of kids, sometimes it's just like, wow. But the reality now is that, we get to see the next however many years it's going to be together. And I really do feel for the people who are alone right now and are fearful of what a commitment might mean for them. And all I can say is trust your instinct. You have it for a reason. And, listen to your heart, and, learn from the things that didn't go so well and apply that learning into the next relationship.
Great.
That and what would you say? Seriously, I mean, so you've been in a situation recently where somebody is saying that to you. How do you respond?
If that were to happen to me, I would advise the person not to bring the prejudice of what they've experienced to this new experience, because that could happen literally. It's in law enforcement, they call it profiling. I think it can happen in relationship where someone experienced something and they can profile the new guy or the new girl. I mean, so it's quite it's quite a dynamics that plays too. I think knowing it, being aware of it, like once it's happening, to be like, hey, wait, I'm not that person. That's
Right.
the first things you gotta remember. And are you really ready for this new experience, or do you have to forgive that person? You need some time to really process that so it doesn't affect this new experience. I think it's really a work that that start with the person themselves as they move forward, because every person is unique. Every person has their own speciality that they bring into a relationship. You never find two person who are the same. It's just impossible. That's just the beauty of life. So, and and I think once people work with that, like to really know that this person is different, and how do I like forgive this person for that experience, and how do I move forward with the learning that I apply there to move into this new experience. I think that's something to really work. I think it comes with experience too. I mean, like it comes with experience, because the first if it's the first time that is happening to you and you're watching this, know that now it's time for you to learn, and how will you apply this learning to forgive the person and move forward into this new experience. And which brings me to this question, looking forward for people who are into a relationship, who are married already, or who are into a committed relationship, and they want to keep it for the next 36 years. So, or beyond. So, Beth, what will be your advice to them? How would they keep the peace?
Well, I'll tell you. It really, it for me, it comes down to forgiveness. It really does. And I know that seems really simplistic, and I get how simplistic that must sound. I really do. And I have to say that it it applies to so much, right? I mean, when you put two completely different personalities together, who have come from two completely different backgrounds together, who've had completely different life experiences into a long-term committed relationship, there's going to be times when you're just going to rub each other the wrong way. You just are. And that's just part of the reality. And, it's interesting because, I'm 56, my husband will be 60 in August. And, we have had a number of our long-term friends divorce after their kids have gone off to college and then have kind of gone on to their own lives. They kind of wake up one day and look at each other and go, who are you? I know you're sleeping in my bed, but I don't really know who you are anymore, right? And part of what, and it's not perfect, right? I mean, there's always days when, we are going to have ongoing conversation about something that I've either done that's, disrupted his day or his whatever, and, vice versa. It happens on both sides. I think really what it comes down to is we just continued being friends. I mean, we just really continued helping one another be the very best versions of ourselves that we can possibly be. He didn't know how to public speak, and so I helped encourage him into Toastmasters. And I really wanted to be in corporate America at, the time that I did, and wanted to have my advanced, education in corporate America and going up that, food chain pretty quickly. And even though he knew that, some of the sacrifices I was making in terms of times with my kids, I might look back on and go, ooh, I wish I would have done quite as much of that corporate ladder thing as I did, right? But he gently pointed that out. He didn't make me wrong for what I was doing. He just, really wanted me to have what I felt like I wanted to have at that time. So it's that ongoing give and take, right? And just deciding to stay friends and make the relationship the important thing. And, unfortunately, I think, and I'm not making anybody wrong who needs to do that, because sometimes it just doesn't work out. And I get it. My parents are divorced and they're both happily remarried, and both of them have been for almost 40 years. So again, it's not a judgment thing. It's just it takes work. It does. It requires effort. And we've just chosen to put forward the effort.
That is amazing. As we were sharing about it, I was like, maybe we need to have another podcast episode. I had to pick the right one. Maybe you guys share with us some secret.
There you go. That would be a fun conversation. That would be great.
Yeah. After peace, maybe we get to talk about that. People are like, They gotta get the
That's awesome.
blueprints on how you pick the right one.
I'm telling you what. Well, and this is the thing. I mean, like everybody wants to find that special someone, assuming they do. I mean, not I guess not everybody. That's too much of a blanket statement, but most people, will want to find that special person. And for some people, it's a woman finding a woman. For some, and it's a man finding a man. I mean, so again, I don't have any judgment about any of that. It really comes down to, how much are you willing to compromise, as long as you don't have to compromise who you are, right? And I think that that's when people kind of get into trouble, is when they are in a relationship where they begin compromising so much of who they are that they lose sight of themselves. And that's occasionally when that frustration can seep in, right? Like the sacrifice means I'm compromising either my values or things that are really important to me in order for this relationship to continue. And fortunately, my husband and I have never experienced that. We've never crossed over that line where we've had that kind of expectation of one another. So that's been part of it. Yeah, but it'd be so fun to have that conversation. Let's do that.
Yes. So I mean, this has been a great show for those of you who've been listening. I hope this episode really blessed you all who are watching us and who are listening to us on the podcast. I'm very happy, and part of me just want to keep going. We've entered an amazing territory, but we're gonna keep it for the next episode. And Beth, I want to thank you for really bringing in the wisdom, the experience, the love in this wide topic. We've touched different dynamics, and I'm very happy that we were able to really share this. And I'd like to give you an opportunity to share with us some of your last thoughts. And yes.
Well, first of all, I just again want to thank you so much, Glory, for this opportunity to partner with one another in this way. I'm just so grateful for all of the lives that we're going to have a chance to impact together in a positive way. And so I'm really looking forward to more and more of those opportunities. It's been so fun. And I just want to salute all you moms out there today. I mean, it's a big day to recognize that, before you brought a child into this world, and in some cases, I have a number of girlfriends who have adopted, regardless of whether or not they physically came out of your body or they came out of someone else's and they are part of your family and part of your home. It is a big deal to be a mother. And I just believe that women have the ability to contribute very positive things towards peace in our country, and particularly when they know amazing men like you, Glory. So
Thank you. And for those of you who are here with us, if you want to get in touch with Beth, you can email her at beth@masterthenewway.com, or you can connect to her via LinkedIn at Elizabeth Baska. And by the way, Beth is also an amazing course. I mean, if you are into business, you want to learn a little bit about how to make money online, so you can go ahead at our focus team.teachable.com. So for those of you who want to get a little bit of knowledge about what Beth does, you can go at masterthenewway.com. So masterthenewway.com. So if you go there, you're gonna be able to learn a little bit more about Beth. And it's all those information are on your screen right now for those of you who are watching us live, and for those of you who are on the podcast listening to us, it's masterthenewway.com. And thank you all for being in this show. Beth, do you have any last words, or are we
thank you,
good?
Glory. This was just so much fun and so wonderful to have a chance to get together and talk about peace and celebrate mom. So thank you.
Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers watching us. Thank you for really being in here with us, and thank you for teaching us, nurturing us, helping us. And I really thank my mom to this show as well. I dedicate this episode to her. Thank you, Mom.
Oh, so sweet.